Hello and welcome to the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel where the Force is family. I am Master Paul, and back with us once again. It's been over a year since we had him on the channel, but he is back. He is now known as Tyler's Terrific Disney Adventures, but last time he was here, he was known as Tyler G. So how you doing tonight, man?
Good. Speaking of Tyler's Terrific Disney Adventures, you can find that same name on Instagram, where you can see how my life was at Disney, which I guess is what we'll be talking about.
Yes, it is. Now, for those that are not familiar, or for those that subscribed after Tyler's last stint with us, Tyler was first introduced on this channel as the catalyst for me getting into Harry Potter, and we did a review of all the Harry Potter movies. You can go back and look at those. He provided some great insight into that. But shortly after, by the way, I'm sure you remember this guy, right? Phil McCracken.
Yep.
I told you, Phil, we were going to have Tyler on, and don't worry, we'll play video games with you later, okay? But we're going to be talking about his time that he spent at Disney World as part of their Disney College program. So, for those that are unaware, Tyler, can you explain what that Disney College program is?
So the Disney College program is for any current college student or anyone who has graduated within the past 2 years to go down and basically work for Disney. They consider it an internship, which helps them get by with some stuff, which I can talk about. But
Okay.
you apply for it, and if you're luckily get chosen for it, you get to go work for Disney. You get to choose your program length, anywhere between 4 to 8 months, and depending if they like you enough, you can extend your program a few more months, or you can go full time or part time.
Right. And Phil says, Tyler, does your older brother promise you to play video games and never does?
I have an older
He's
brother, but I don't talk about him.
he's trolling right now. He's still upset with me for convincing him to buy a game that I have yet to play with him. So we will fix that tonight, Phil. I'm gonna keep my promise. And Phil says Tyler has a nice tan. Meanwhile, Paul is pasty white. I work underground. You know this. So,
And I was out
anyways,
in the Florida sun.
yes, you
Oof.
were. Okay, so you left in January of 2022 to do what was it
I
now?
left. I left end of April.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it was the end of April, and you're back about a week ago. You came back, right?
Last Thursday.
Okay, so last Thursday, and that whole time you were down in Disney World. So let's start with sort of the day-to-day stuff. So what was your job that you did?
I was park greeter at Magic Kingdom, which is basically what I do right now at the caverns, where I scan the tickets and let the guests in. Disney, there's a little bit more to it because I don't know if anyone on the channel knows about this, but Disney at Disney World has this biometric scanner where you place your finger down and it takes a picture of your finger so no one else can use your ticket. And that caused controversy, but whew.
Yes, I'm sure we'll be getting into that later on as far as certain interactions we've had. So so you did that, and overall, did you enjoy it?
Oh, I absolutely enjoyed it. Um, as park greeter at Magic Kingdom, there was a lot more going for it than most of the other parks
Mhm.
because Magic Kingdom is the world's largest, well, not largest, but world's busiest theme park in the entire world. Like it's
Like,
the
more
most
so than
visited,
Epcot, MG sorry, I almost called it
like
MGM.
any theme park, not just Disney.
Wow. Okay. And I can 100% believe that. So, aside from that, I know that I know that you, of course, got to visit the other parks in your off time, and how was that?
Each park has its own like vibes and feelings. Soon as you enter Magic Kingdom, of course, you get like pirates and princesses and robots. And then
Mm-hmm.
Epcot, it's like, let's speed around real quick with Test Track or Travel the Galaxy, help and save that with the new Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Epcot, or travel around the world to see all the different countries and what they each offer. Hollywood Studios, see how movies are made.
Mm-hmm. Go see the
And then
Star Wars land, which we'll get to that in a moment.
Toy Story Land, and something that returned last year in October or November, I don't remember which one, Fantasmic, which was probably my
Oh
favorite
yes,
show.
I remember seeing that, and it was except for maybe the Chernobog segment, I did like Fantasmic when I saw it.
And then Animal Kingdom, I only visited Animal Kingdom a handful of times. It wasn't my favorite. I can respect it and all what it has to offer. I loved
Yeah.
seeing all the animals and whatnot. But unless they do some sort of addition or retheming, like they projected at the D23 Expo that happened this past year, where
Mm-hmm.
they would get rid of the dinosaur area and retheme it into Moana and I think
I
I
could
forget
I could
which.
kind
Oh,
of I could see
Zootopia.
them doing that. I could see them doing that because, frankly, they need something like that.
They need some because like Pandora does good and all, but they need more to bring to that park.
Exactly. So, getting into it now, you of course got to know a bunch of. Working where you did. You got to know a bunch of the people that work in the various different, I guess you could say, divisions of being a cast member, all the way up from characters to pretty much everything, right?
Yeah. Um.
And you told me at work that you, using your own words, were friends with people that were friends with Tiana and Rapunzel, correct?
Yeah. Um. It's just I. There's so many things that go into Disney that if you're a regular guest that you don't realize or know about, and Disney tries their best to keep that secret.
Mm-hmm.
There will be some things I'll be willing to share on here
Of
because
course.
it's most of it is already known about, but there's also some things like Disney wants that to keep secret. Just like
Mm-hmm.
I, even if a celebrity were to come through my touch point, I couldn't be like, "Hey, can I have a photo with you?" Because that would be grounds for automatic termination.
Yeah, you treat them pretty much as you would any other guest, right?
Yeah. I had Michael Jordan walk past me
For
a
real?
few. Yep.
Oh my goodness! Wow!
Chris Evans was staying at the Contemporary while I was working down there. He was even at one of the Halloween parties.
Wow!
Um, but also a whole bunch of like smaller celebrities that I really didn't know, but other people that I was working with in Park Entry knew about. Some
Mm-hmm.
from like dance moms, TikTokers, YouTubers.
Okay. I mean, I mean, 2 years ago now in 2021, you had a certain YouTube channel named the Star Wars Guys visiting Disney World.
Yeah.
But so that was cool. Um, Now let's get into some of the bigger stuff. So obviously, while you're down there, the whole thing between with Bob Chapek getting fired and Bob Iger getting reinstated comes on. And for those watching, I've commented about that on other people's channels, but we've never actually made a comment about that here. So Tyler, you can go first. What was your take on the whole Bob Chapek versus Bob Iger thing?
So nobody, everybody that I worked with always referenced Bob Chapek as Bob Paycheck
Hmm.
just because he was all about getting the money, not really creating those experiences for our guests, and just kept taking more and more stuff away from the parks instead of putting more and more in. And once they got rid of Chapek and reinstated Iger, we slowly started having more of those experiences coming back. Now,
Okay.
some of those experiences that we have right now that have been in place even while Chapek was there was brought by Iger, such as the Genie Plus service with Lightning Lane,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember what else. But most of all the negative stuff that's been happening for Disney was because of Chapek, and Iger is trying to bring that back. But obviously, just like anything, it's going to take time for him to fix everything.
Of course. And I, you were looking at this, of course, from the lens of the parks, where we here at the Star Wars guys, and of course my friends at, say, Pacific 414 or the Phantom Hooligans, for example, we were looking at it from the side of what are we getting from them as far as entertainments. And these are rumors, and you guys know that I've not become a big fan of talking about rumors anymore, but I kind of have to in this case. So take all of what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But certain rumors had been floating around for the longest time that Bob Chapek was trying to get back to making less politically charged, basically getting back to making movies that were not nearly as politically charged as, you know, the stuff that was coming out before he came into power. And allegedly the board of directors didn't like that, and that's kind of why he got the axe. Again, I cannot confirm that's true, so take all of that with a huge heap and pile of salt. Is there anything that you can comment on that, Tyler?
Well, I know right before I went down, they Disney and the government of Florida was having a big discussion with like
Mm-hmm.
LGBT rights and all that. And at first, Disney was supporting the Florida government, and then they changed their minds. And now that's created a whole situation for Disney and the government of Florida. They're reworking the Reedy Creek Act, which
Yes.
gives Disney World their own like government, and they
Mm-hmm.
can take care of their own taxes, roads, sewers, anything like that. But the Florida government, doesn't so much like that anymore after the whole big situation last year before
Of
I went
course.
down. And they're like, okay, well, let's see about revising the Reedy Creek and take away some of those powers that Disney has, which one could help Disney, but also could hurt Disney.
So getting into that, the whole Reedy Creek thing, what of that did you learn about during your time there? Like, what was most relevant to you?
So, Reedy Creek is the numbers that we would have to call if we were to have some sort of emergency situation, because it's also our police, fire department, ambulance for the Disney World property.
Okay.
And it's also the people that took care of all the roads and any like not like groundskeeping, but like, ooh, what's the word?
Because
Anything that
I
dealt with
almost want to say
construction.
custodial.
No, the parks and everything had their own custodial, but like landscaping, stuff like that.
Right. Yes. Okay.
And that's all I really experienced. I didn't really experience too much of the government side.
Okay. But I'm sure, you know, you heard like conversations with coworkers and such, they're them sharing their opinion of this. So the whole okay. So here's a can of worms I didn't want to open, but the whole "Don't Say Gay" bill thing. You said yourself that started just before you went down there. Um, were people still griping about that even when you were down there about that?
Not really when I was like none that I could notice while I was working. The only things I really ever saw was always like on Twitter on WDWNT,
Mm-hmm.
which is Walt Disney World News Today. They would always be like, especially during LGBT Pride Month, um, and Disney put out a whole collection and stuff. They're like, why Disney's doing this with the whole "Don't Say Gay" bill, and that's like the only thing I really noticed when
Okay.
I was down there.
And then I know that when that whole thing was at its hottest, there was like this walkout that apparently happened at Disney World or something. Can you speak on that any?
Oh, I have no clue about that. I don't. I think that was right before I got down there.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so getting off of that topic, obviously Iger has come back, and where do you see Disney going now that Iger is back in command?
I see Disney, the parks,
Mm-hmm.
going back in a good direction. They have already started planning all these new things, and most of them have already started coming back into effect. Um, Such as the park reservation system, which a lot of the guests hate or don't understand because like why we bought these tickets for Magic Kingdom, why do we still need to make a reservation?
Right, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's something that came about because in the immediate aftermath of them reopening from COVID,
Yep.
and it was kind of like how we do at our job, where we went from guided tours to the more self-guided thing as a measure of limiting how many people are in the park at one time, right?
Yep. And see, Iger recently announced that annual pass holders starting sometime in April, I don't remember which day in April, or it might be in March, but
Hmm.
annual pass holders won't need a reservation if they're going to the parks after 2. But if they're going to the parks before 2, they still would need a reservation.
Right.
Um, what else has he done with that whole aspect?
That sounds to me like they're slowly walking back the reservation thing, where, okay, these people don't need a reservation at this time, and then it's going to expand it. Okay, these certain people don't need a reservation at all. Expand it further to, okay, anyone after this certain time doesn't need a reservation, to getting rid of it entirely.
I don't think it's going to go away entirely just because it helps the parks regulate how many people are going in and keeping lines at a minimum, even though like they're still super long. If we were to get rid of the reservation system entirely, it would make the parks, especially Magic, the lines would be never ending.
Right.
Which I mean, technically they are never ending, but like they would be worse than what they already are.
I
Because like
Okay.
the longest lines are for like Peter Pan and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Magic, and I've seen them at like 120 minutes, which is a 2-hour wait. And no offense, but those rides aren't even that great.
Yeah, I believe that. So let's talk now. Let's get away from you, the Disney employee, and talk about you, the person that's just experiencing Disney World itself. So, what was your favorite park to visit?
My favorite park was Magic, not just because like I worked there, but once I got down there, I realized I was more of the entertainment person, wanting to like see the shows, see the parades, watch the fireworks.
Okay.
Um, I especially like the show rides, I guess you could call them, like Carousel of Progress, the Enchanted Tiki Room, Country Bear Jamboree. Just because like also those didn't have the longest waits. Um,
Right.
Now some of my favorite rides per se was like Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Big Thunder Mountain.
Right. So you
And
weren't
also the People Mover in Tomorrowland.
Right. So you weren't quite up to, I want to ride only the most extreme rides there, right?
Yeah, because like I
Okay.
didn't see a point because like since I since cast members do get free admission as long
Mm-hmm.
as they make a park reservation, I could go to the parks whenever I wanted. So like I wasn't constantly ride because say I worked from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. today, I could have a park reservation, go right in after I got off, and I could just do Big Thunder Mountain if I wanted to, and then go back to my apartment.
Right.
I
Okay.
had that type of capability and ability to do those sort of things with the parks.
Okay. Makes sense. Now, speaking of Magic Kingdom, let's talk about Splash Mountain now.
Ooh,
So, if I'm not mistaken, the announcement that they were going to shut down Splash Mountain to retheme it to Princess and the Frog, I believe that happened like well before your time to get there, but you were there for the day that it shut down, right?
yep.
Okay, so can you speak on that any?
Yep. So don't hate me, but I only rode that once.
Okay.
Um, they were letting cast members go onto the ride a few days before it actually shut down,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only time I rode it because that also had a tremendous long wait time, and I just couldn't understand the weight of it, and also the last big drop kind of scared me. Um,
Don't worry, it did me the first time I wrote it too.
um, but after I did it that once, I kind of wished that I had rode it more. I understand like why everybody likes it and whatnot, and like the fun aspect,
Mm-hmm.
but I understand like why Disney wants to change it and retheme it to princess, not just because of like the racist aspect of Song of the South that's tied to Splash Mountain, but also like nobody really knows that story anymore.
Okay,
You can't
fair
even
enough
find
then.
it on Disney Plus or really anywhere.
Yeah,
You would have to dive down deep to actually find it.
I
And at
think they
most,
sell
you could
hard
probably
copies
find
of it
it.
on eBay if anyone. I mean, it's your. I've seen it. I like the movie. If you really want to see it, that's probably your best bet is just go find a physical copy somewhere.
And like more of the little kids is gonna know about Tiana and Princess and the Frog.
Right. Okay.
And Disney has released like the storyline for Princess and the Frog. I mean, for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which is going to be the new title of that ride.
Is it still going to have the big drop at the end?
Oh yeah, nothing about the ride itself is changing. It's just going to have a whole new theme. It's
Okay.
going to be
So,
all
okay,
Tiana.
so kind of like they did with that one Epcot ride, Maelstrom, when they changed it to
Yeah,
Frozen.
yeah. It's still going to be the same tracks, paths, whatever you want to call it. It's just going to have Tiana, Lewis, Naveen, and
Right.
all their friends.
Okay.
And the story is she's already opened her restaurant and she's about to have a big party because it's Mardi Gras time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're missing 3 ingredients. So your ride is basically helping her find the missing ingredients. And you want to know what the song is that's going to be for the big drop?
What?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Oh yes, that song. It's been forever since I've seen that movie because, and I mean no offense to anyone that does like that movie, I don't because of how dark the villain is. But that's just me. So the day comes that Splash Mountain closes to the public. How crazy were those lines, do you know?
They had a never ending line. I think it got up to like 5 hours long.
Oh my goodness.
But I will say the nice thing is the closing cast members of that ride were the last people to get to ride it. And as they went down that big drop and made that loop around to the
Mhm.
finish line, or whatever you want to call it, there were guests there clapping and cheering and saying thank you and whatnot to those cast members,
And
which
I
was
know
like
that. Oh, go ahead.
which was like a nice thing for them to do. And then the day afterwards, they had already put up boards
The
around the ride.
right. But then someone left, some people started leaving, like at the bridge that overlooks the drop, like a little shrine
Yep.
or little memorial to the ride of Song of the South merch, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I will say the night before Splash Mountain closed, as park entry, we were also required to like do stock up the maps for everyone to get as they were entering the parks. We
Hmm.
literally had to take out all of the maps that we currently had and put in new ones because the new ones no longer said anything about Splash Mountain.
Okay.
It still showed Splash Mountain, but it was like coming soon, Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Right. Okay. And I'm sure some people took some of those maps as like a historical almost artifact.
Oh yeah. I actually uh got acquired 3 different Splash Mountain pins while I was down there. So
Yes.
those will eventually become like,
Pretty valuable.
yeah.
Okay. And then you told me this at work that someone stuck their water bottle in the water of the Splash Mountain ride and is selling it on eBay.
Yep. And there was
I,
also
I'm going to look this up right now on eBay and see how much something like this is going for. Just curious.
a TikTok video of a guy taking his plastic water bottle, dipping it down into the water of Splash Mountain, and then drinking it.
Oh my goodness. Not to what you just said, but holy cow, look at these prices for Splash Mountain water.
That
A
does not surprise me.
$1,000.
Now my question is, how many of those is actual real Splash Mountain water?
That is a good point. So yeah, $1,000, 450, 200. Okay, a Splash Mountain last day commemorative tickets. Okay, fair enough. $20, that's a little bit more reasonable. $1,000 for literally a standard, just a bottle of water that we're taking at their at face value, that someone happened to dip it down into that ride and fill it up. Number one, that is incredibly unsanitary, and number two, depending on where you are in that ride, that is incredibly dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Like, make your money, but that's not something I would try. All right, so moving on from that, let's move on, since we are the Star Wars guys, and talk about your first experience going to Galaxy's Edge. So what did you think of that?
I was overwhelmed but also underwhelmed at the same time because they
Okay.
definitely do immerse you. It was kind of weird my first time going into Galaxy's Edge. I was walking through Toy Story Land right into Galaxy's Edge, and you kind of go from being the size of a toy
Mm-hmm.
to like they have like a little bit of a walkway right before you get to Batu and Galaxy's Edge, where it's just like plants, and you start hearing like Star Wars noises of the planes and whatnot.
Of course. Whoa, hold on. We just lost Tyler. Stand by, folks. I'm going to try and get him back. I'll message him real quick. So I hope you guys are enjoying the stream so far. I'll be honest, if it seems like we're going a bit fast, this is kind of because we've already had this conversation at work. And Tyler's back.
Ooh, I don't know what happened.
Did you accidentally exit out of the tab?
No. Our
Okay.
internet has apparently been spotty here.
Yeah, mine has too, to be fair, so I know what that's like. But anyways, you were talking about that transition from walking through the Toy Story area to Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. And so like you started like seeing like different forms on the ground and start hearing like fighter jets or whatnot, whatever they're called,
Mm-hmm.
X-wings flying over your head. It sounded like it, but like, it's Disney's way of like diving you into the storyline.
Right.
And I seen Ray and Chewbacca walk around once. And then also it's kind of cool watching families that have just built droids over at the little droid PlayStation where you
Mm-hmm.
could like have them out of the boxes and rolling around.
Did you ever do that, build the droid?
No, um, I could never get a reservation because most of those big item things at Disney, like Cinderella's Royal Table, Savi's Workshop, the droid building, and all those sort of things, always had required a reservation to be able to do it.
It's funny you say that because when we went in 2021, only Savi's Workshop, at least within Galaxy's Edge, only Savi's Workshop and Rise of the Resistance required the reservation. The Droid Tebow didn't.
Well, they implemented one for droid,
Hmm. Okay.
and
And by
also
the way, hello to Leia Rose. Thanks for joining.
and
And
also the droid building and Savi's Workshop was kind of expensive.
right, but
And
you told me that you did or didn't do Savi's Workshop,
I
right?
didn't.
You didn't. Okay. Real quick, I will say for those watching right now in the chat, I should have said this earlier, but if you guys have any questions for Tyler about his time at Disney World, please put them in the chat and we will do our best to get those answered. So let me ask you about this. Now, you of course when we would talk at work before you left, had always said that you were somewhat of a Star Wars fan. I don't believe you had seen all of them, correct?
No, not until we did the big, like, my
Yes.
point of view after we did the Harry Potter movies on here.
Right. Okay, so you've seen them all now, right?
Yeah, I,
Okay.
I just haven't watched all of like Clone Wars and all those
That
shows.
that's fine. Now that you're back, we got plenty of time for that if you're game for it.
Sure.
All
One
right.
of my roommates that, as I told you the other day, was watching them, and I watched bits and pieces. It seemed interesting. I might watch them.
I gotcha. So anyways, I mentioned that because I want to know Galaxy's Edge is very much themed exclusively to the sequel trilogy. What's your thoughts on that? Are you okay with the fact that they themed it just to the sequel trilogy, or do you think it would have been a better opportunity for them to incorporate all aspects of Star Wars into it?
I feel like they could have incorporated all aspects of it. I can understand why they didn't, because of like Disney's theming for like the parks and stuff. Because why would you have Ray out at the same time as Darth Vader? I feel
Right.
like they could have done it in such a way where like half of Galaxy's Edge was Vader and the other half was like the later half of
Hmm.
the Star Wars.
Or and I think and so you know that I went in 2021 and pretty much my thoughts were the same as yours. I liked it, but thought that there was a lot of missed opportunities. What I
Mhm.
think their biggest flaw was, as far as the designing of this park, was explicitly stating that the story of this park takes place between episodes 8 and 9. What they should have done, in my opinion, and I'm sure you'll agree, is just make the park about Star Wars in general. It's not set within any particular time period. That way you can incorporate all aspects of it. The prequels, the original trilogy, the sequels, Rogue One and Solo, the Mandoverse, all that stuff.
Now, see,
And I
we'll never
think
get those characters
exactly.
unless
Well,
they.
that's not true. Mando and Boba Fett have been started to get implemented nowadays at the Disneyland Galaxy's
Well,
Edge,
yeah.
and that anything that Disneyland gets, Disney World gets too.
Eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me upset because I say eventually, because the first day that I was back here, they released an article that Mirabelle might be coming as a meet and greet to Magic Kingdom to replace the Merida meet and greet. Right now you can see Merida, but she's only in the Adventure Cavalcade at Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
And select special parties.
Okay.
Also, I should state, I do not speak for the Disney company or a brand as a whole. These are my own personal
Yes,
thoughts.
we probably should have started with that at the beginning. I'm gonna go back in, by the way, now into I'm going into the description now, and I'm just gonna put that all views and opinions are not representative of the Disney World of the Disney Corporation. I'm just gonna put that just as a CYA. You know what CYA means, right?
No.
Cover your
Oh.
Navy term that I learned.
Um.
By the way, one quick thing, and then you can continue. Hold up, it won't let me update it. That's okay. I'll do it after the stream. But anyways, hello to Klaus Wolfgang, who says hello again. It's nice to be back. By the way, this is our newest subscriber from Germany.
Wow.
Yep. So, what were you going to say before I accidentally interrupted you?
So, the first time I went into Galaxy's Edge was with one of my first roommates that I had. And then we went and did Star Tours, and I asked him, why isn't this in Galaxy's Edge? And he was like, this was built before Galaxy's Edge, and this is where like they would do like everyone's meet and greets for Star Wars. And then we did Star Tours, and that was also a neat experience. I did that a few times, and like you could get different situations every time, and there was like 16 different situations or something that you could get.
Yes.
And then I know also in Hollywood Studios, on the opposite side, I don't remember what that area is called, you can meet Darth Vader and I think BB-8 or R2-D2. I forget which one.
And then as far as everything else within Galaxy's Edge, you rode Rise of the Resistance, right?
Many a times. That was a fun ride.
Yes.
I was not expecting that drop at the end.
You know I don't like the sequel trilogy, but even I gotta admit that was a fun ride. Did you ride the Millennium Falcon ride?
Twice.
Okay, and what'd you think of it?
I wouldn't mind trying to help pilot a ship.
Okay.
In real life. But also at the same time, that was like a ride aspect, but a real situation, I feel like it'd be 10 times worse under pressure.
That is true. Okay, so overall you did enjoy Galaxy's Edge, right?
Yeah.
Good.
I wish I would have tried the blue and green milk, but I never got around to it.
If you ever go back,
I plan on going back.
Just get the blue milk. Green milk's not worth it. Now, while you were there, of course, another highly controversial aspect of Star Wars popped up, that being the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel.
Oof.
And you and I had already had conversations about this at work. And of course, we've talked about this here on the channel before. In fact, that was probably one of the most hated videos that I did, was pointing it out. But real quick, just go ahead and share a little bit of what you know about Galactic Star Cruiser.
So it's a 2-day experience. You get in and you get to stay there. They actually give you clothes to help you get more into the experience. You're not in like your normal everyday clothes. You look like you were just coming from one of the Star Wars planets. And the cast members there, they actually get trained in everything. So you think there's one cast member that's doing concierge, one doing food and beverage, so on and so forth. But they all get trained to do everything because it's such a small, I want to call it a resort, but it's not so much a resort, but like immersive hotel stay, so to put it,
Mm-hmm.
where you get to experience Star Wars. And so one day is spent all day on the ship, and the other day you get to visit Batu. I would have loved to known how they like got you from the ship to Batu without like having you go out in the real world. But I'm sure they had to go out in the real world
I
unless
think
they built some sort of special like
so.
tunnel.
So I was listening to a guy on my friend Overlord DVD's channel, and he was giving sort of like a beat by beat rundown of what happens on the Galactic Star Cruiser. And if I'm not mistaken, um, there's basically these shuttles that take you to and from the hotel while you're part of the experience that are basically glorified shipping box trucks.
Interesting.
But I've also heard that while you're in the Galactic Star Cruiser, there's barely any time to rest. Your stay is pre-scheduled ahead of time, and it's like, okay, here this time we're doing this time we're doing this, bam, 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 with hardly any time to really sit down and rest.
Oh yeah. Um I had, because I was park greeter. Park
Hmm.
greeter role is like universal, so I could pick up at any of the other parks. And so I had been at Hollywood Studios. I worked at Hollywood Studios a few times,
Hmm.
and like hearing stories of like guests that had stayed at the Galactic Star Cruiser and whatnot, they constantly were going, and I can understand why they're constantly going because of the price they pay.
Hmm.
Disney wanted to make sure you got that full immersion experience,
Right.
but also at the same time, it's only a 2 day event, well, night.
And then once that 2 days is over, if you want to stay at Disney World, you've got to arrange lodging elsewhere, which is going to be more money.
Yep. I will say,
And well, before I get into what I was going to say, let me ask you this. As a park greeter, did you ever overhear other people's talk of what it was like to be on the Galactic Star Cruise or whether they liked it or not?
I had met a few different people that had done it, and a lot of them enjoyed it.
Hmm.
A lot of them wished maybe it was like a 3 day event and they spreaded like Galactic Star Cruiser day one, Galaxy's Edge day two, and then the other half of the Galactic Star Cruiser on day three.
Right. So, and I asked that because that kind of brings me to an article that Michael had initially sent to me. Um, I would say about a week ago. Actually, no, nearly about a week and a half ago. We didn't cover this then. We probably should have. So I'm sorry, guys. But let me bring this in. Breaking: Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Voyage is now offering just one dinner service each night due to low attendance. And we'll address this picture in just a moment, but let's actually read this. At least one upcoming Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Voyage is offering only one dinner service per night instead of two, as the expensive experience continues to have lower occupancy than Disney would like. We reported last year that demand for Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser was down, and Disney was giving away more stays for free. They started offering just one dinner service on some voyages in the fall, as well as cutting cast member hours because some voyages were only at 25% occupancy. Disney has even canceled some Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser voyages this year and rescheduled guests for other dates. Guests scheduled for the March 6th through 8th voyage are being told that there will only be one dinner service per night. Guests are usually assigned to one of the two services. This could continue for future voyages as well, despite the low occupancy. Disney has not yet budged on the experience's hefty price. It opened in March 2022 at Walt Disney World. The experience starts at nearly $5,000 per cabin and offers a 3-day, 2-night immersive Star Wars adventure on a fictitious cruise ship where guests become part of a conflict between the Resistance and the First Order. So, before we go and look at that hideous picture, everything that I just read, Tyler, what's your reaction to it?
Yeah, Disney needs to lower the price of it. I mean, it looks fun and all, but for an average family that absolutely loves Star Wars, they won't be able to afford it, and then also afford to do another stay if they want to stay longer at Disney. $5,000? Heck!
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what you're paying for, but maybe like 1,500, maybe $1,000, and don't have certain things included. Make it like you get all the entertainment and whatnot, or experiences with like characters and stories and stuff. But like, if they don't want to eat on the Star Cruiser,
I mean, how could you want to eat on the Star Cruiser when you're getting served things like this?
yeah. Well,
That looks, that to me just looks unhealthy. And I get what they're trying to do here. They're trying to make it look as far from Earth food as possible. But I'm sorry, but putting blue food coloring in shrimp and just tying them together like this, that's still shrimp. And that looks like spoiled shrimp with rotten lettuce and
yeah.
some sort of weird translucent liquid in the middle. That looks disgusting.
Yeah. And also, like, I do know if you're staying at the Star Cruiser, you do get a special Magic Band Plus with it, which I mean is they have the new Magic Band Plus that was released last year. They range anywhere from like $30 to $50,
Okay.
and but I'll dive deeper into that a little bit later. But like, Disney also just recently announced discounts for cast members to stay at the Galactic Star Cruiser. That's how much they're willing to go. Because, no offense, but cast members, I experienced it, don't get that much. I mean, they get a lot, but they don't get that much.
Right. And it would have been fortuitous if they had announced that earlier while you were still down there, because then I really could have asked you what it was like.
Yeah, I may or may not have done it, depending on how much it would have cost. I only got to stay
Right.
at one Disney resort while I was down there, and that's because some of our friends from the cave came down for my birthday and they paid for it.
Who was this again?
Naomi, Emily, and Sarah.
Ah, okay. I gotcha. So
But they
let's.
still they even used my discount for the resort stay.
Okay. Well, that's
But
good. Well,
like,
that's definitely good for them.
yeah, but like Disney needs to work on their pricing.
Yes. Now let's briefly shift away from Disney for a moment and talk about the Hogwarts Park at Universal. You did get to go to that, correct?
Yep, I only got to go once.
Okay.
I tasted the butterbeer.
Is it as
I
bad as
rode.
people say it is?
I actually enjoyed it.
Did you buy your Ravenclaw robes?
Yes.
By the way, us Slytherins think you Ravenclaws are just a bunch of nerds.
Yeah. Also, I was very disappointed. I was gonna buy wands, but all they had were interactive wands.
Which are just wands that are the character wands, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And you can only like, I mean, they're cool to collect and whatnot if you really want to collect them.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally didn't want to buy them because I was looking for like the actual like collectible type wands, where
Yeah,
it was
like
like the full length wand, not almost the full length wand with a little black dot on the end that
like
controls
what's
stuff
slightly
in the
better
wand.
than those Walmart random wands that you and I collected for a time that I still have, by the way, over there.
Yeah. So I didn't buy any wands.
I gotcha. Let me ask you this, because this is a big comparison that people made when Galaxy's Edge first opened. When entering each different area, Galaxy's Edge or the Hogwarts world, which one were you immediately immersed in more? And I know this is kind of biased knowing you, but still.
I mean, so the one that I sort of got faster was Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, the one that I liked better was Hogwarts.
Okay.
Because if you were
Sorry, let me change the question. Which one themed itself better, do you think?
probably Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I mean, I liked them both. As you're slowly getting into it, because you went for Harry Potter, you went in between like these two buildings as if you're entering the Leaky Cauldron, and then you went through the brick wall like when Hagrid taps his umbrella in the first movie,
Right.
and then right there you are in Diagon Alley. And then if you were, because see, the Diagon Alley part was in Universal, while as Hogsmeade and Hogwarts were in Islands of Adventure. So you
Mm-hmm.
had to buy the 2-park ticket.
Oh, okay. So you didn't get the full experience.
Oh, I did the full experience.
So you did both.
Yeah. But
Okay.
the way I first got there was through Diagon. I mean, yeah, through Diagon Alley. And then if you trying to remember how I did this. And then as you're in Diagon Alley, if you go through this one alleyway, it was like you were at King's Cross Station
Mm-hmm.
and you got in line to get on the Hogwarts Express.
So the whole platform 9 3/4 thing?
Yep.
Okay.
And then you they put like 6 people per cabin and you watch literally both sides, because like on the door side you could see like the woman carrying the trolley, anything off the trolley deer, and then on the other side you could see different quote unquote scenes that they like meshed together to make as if you were traveling to
Did
Hogwarts
you
and Hogsmeade.
did you get attacked by Dementors?
Yes.
Hmm. Did they give out free chocolate after?
No.
Darn.
And then
Eat, you'll feel better.
and then you got off, and right there you were. You were at like where Hogwarts and Hogsmeade meet, and then you got to see like the new Hagrid ride and Hogsmeade and what forth. And I even did the wand ceremony thing at Ollivander's and Diagon Alley, where you got to potentially get picked for the wand to choose you, which I did not get chosen, unfortunately. It was 2 little boys.
So hold on a second. This Ollivanders, that's where they were supposed to do the custom wands, right? Like if you had gone onto the Wizarding World site and customized your wand, that's where you could have gotten it, right?
Yeah, but they don't do that anymore.
Okay. That's a shame, because I did find someone that does it on Etsy, at least based off of how the wands look in Hogwarts Legacy, which, yes, I will be doing a review of that at some point on the second channel. But yeah, it sucks that you can't get it at the Wizarding World anymore. Do you think it's like a supply chain issue or something?
I'm not really for sure.
Well,
But
hopefully they bring it back.
Yeah. I will say it was definitely fun getting like immersed into the Harry Potter world. I would go back to that as well.
Nice. Yeah.
To do more of the rides and stuff, because like I wanted to like spend all day in the Harry Potter world, but I also wanted to see more of Universal and whatnot,
Right.
just to see if like an annual pass was gonna be my thing,
Yeah, I
which I would have
gotcha.
done, but those were expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've legit never been to Universal, so if I was to go, it would be the first time for me, and I would really want to experience everything at Universal, especially in the Hogwarts section.
Yep.
Also to shove
Speaking
it
of
to the also just to shove it to the anti-JK people.
yeah, and also so Universal has like 3 sections to it.
Mhm.
So it has Universal on the right, Islands of Adventure on the left, and then before you get to either of those parks, it has what they call City Walk, which is basically Universal's version of what Disney has called Disney Springs.
Right.
And they have a tattoo shop,
Hmm.
which I that's where I got oh oh dear. This
The Deathly Hallows?
yep, with the
I thought
Hogwarts colors.
I thought you were about to open it up and be like Death Eater logo. But no, that looks good. I actually didn't notice that when I
And then it
last
also
saw you.
has always underneath. Oh, I do not know how to work this.
I like it. I like it. So overall, and kind of bringing this whole conversation to a close, you had fun, and you would recommend it to any other college student, correct?
Oh yeah. Um, yes and no. Flamingo, which is the housing that they provide,
Mm-hmm.
is their rent is very expensive, but rent anywhere in the Orlando area and Florida in general is very expensive. But I lived in a 2x2, which is a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, and you share that bedroom and bathroom with one other person.
Hmm.
From when I first moved down there in May until January 16th, I paid 185, and then it went up to 191, and that's per person
Per person.
per
Okay.
week.
So $191 per week.
Yep. So that's almost
Wow.
$200. So that's almost $800 a month
Yeah,
per person,
that's
and that's just for my type of room. There was also a 4x2 and a 4x4,
that is ridiculous.
and the 4x2 and 4x4 had higher rents.
Mm-hmm.
And I like being park greeter and all, but because there were so many of us and they didn't like obviously like you need to have the park greeters there from park open to park close, but you also need but like other areas such as merchandise had to be there for a little bit before park opening to way after park close so they could restock everything, make sure everything's in order and stuff. So they got more hours, which I would have appreciated. It might have been the way I got to stay down there, but with park entry hours and being a CP, which we got like bottom totem pole of
Mm-hmm.
things, but I was only getting about 30 to 32 hours a week.
Okay. And that kind of was going to be my last question is why did you not stay? And like you told me at work, you wanted more hours.
Yeah. And I mean, if I would have stayed, they might have transferred me to somewhere else. But it might have been something that I definitely didn't want to do. Like, I've worked at Chick-fil-A before, and I know I do not want to do food and beverage.
And I could see also where you wouldn't want to do custodial either.
Yeah, custodials at Walt Disney World do have more freedom, and they get to make more of those experiences for guests and whatnot. And they also
Mm-hmm.
get to do the water art, which, if y'all don't know, is they get trained to draw different Disney characters on the sidewalks and pavement with a special broom and pan that has water and whatnot.
Hmm.
And I would have liked to have done that part of custodial, but like what we called code V's, which is like vomit and other stuff, I would not have wanted to do. But
Forget that.
some of the things they have to clean up that I've heard about, ugh. But like
But then
merchandise,
again, but then again, you've already done that where we currently work.
yeah, but not on the scale of Disney. Ooh.
True.
One of the rides at Epcot called Mission Space,
Uh-huh.
they the amount of times they have code V's per day is astronomical.
But then again, look at how intense that ride is. They give you like actual barf bags for that, and I'm pretty sure that's the only ride at Disney World they do that with.
Yeah. Speaking of rides that only do things now, the new Tron ride opening up at Magic Kingdom on April 4th is the first Walt Disney World ride to offer lockers
Yeah.
before you get on the ride. Because if you do not put your stuff in the lockers, you won't have anywhere to store it on the actual ride itself.
So like no cubbies next to the train like usual.
Nope.
Wow.
You actually have to store it in the locker. And then you get into another line to actually wait to get put onto the ride.
Hmm. I I wonder if they're going to do those lockers like King's Dominion where you have to pay separately for them.
No, they're free. Now
Good.
they do all four parks have lockers at the front of the park for you to store your larger items
Yeah.
that you do have to pay for, but these lockers are free. The way you access them is by your Magic Band card or Magic Mobile, which is how you download your ticket onto your Apple Pay or Google Pay.
Mm-hmm.
But so you go in one side, the lockers are all on the left. You tap however you have your ticket onto the locker that you choose. You put your stuff in, and then you make your way around the corner. You get in line for the ride. You do the ride, and then you're on the opposite side, and like there's this wall and stuff. And then you tap your card again on the corresponding locker that you had. If you don't remember your locker, there's these little kiosks that you tap your card or Magic Band, and it'll be like, you have locker 486 or 522. And then you can go tap your card on that corresponding locker, unlock it, take your stuff out.
Okay. All right. That makes sense, and honestly, I could see other parks adopting that too. Like King's Dominion, you still have to pay for the lockers near the rides, and I think something like that should be free. Actually, no, I take it back. They did implement free lockers but they're like tiny for like just your phone and wallet and such.
These lockers for the ride are pretty big. I know they could hold my Loungefly. They could hold one of my friends' like regular size book bag
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. But a lot of people were like excited for this because they knew this ride was going to be like fun and whatnot. Which all Disney World rides are fun.
Yes.
You just
And
have to go in.
did you get to ride it when you were down there, or did it open up after you
So
left?
they were doing cast member previews as I was leaving. I luckily
Mhm.
got to do it once,
Okay.
which is how I know about the whole locker system and
Right.
whatnot. And a lot of people are excited for the locker system, but they're like, Disney's copying Universal now with the locker system.
Of course.
But like, if we don't put that locker system in place for that ride, y'all are gonna lose your stuff
Yeah.
because of how high that ride goes up and how fast you go. So I like that ride, but they didn't do any upgrades to it to make it more American, I guess you could say. Whereas like most Americans are larger than your, I forget which park it was, Shanghai Disneyland.
Yeah.
Where's Shanghai, China, Japan?
Shanghai's in China.
Yeah. So those people, their body sizes are way smaller than the average American.
Of course.
And they didn't really make any upgrades to fit the larger Americans that are going to ride this ride. And so I tried getting on, but the safety latches that go across your legs wouldn't come completely across. So I had to wait for a special car in the back, which is only really meant for like special like wheelchairs and stuff like that, people that can transfer out of those.
Yeah.
So I had to wait quite a bit, and they will give priority to anybody that has a mobility scooter, wheelchair, or walker, that compartment, but first before they give people that can't fit in the motorbike version.
Okay.
So I think they're still working on those issues before they completely open it on April 4th.
Okay.
But
Well,
besides the
hopefully.
ride,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
besides the ride part, they do definitely immerse you into the concept of Tron.
Good.
I wish they would have done more like here, if you've never experienced like watch Tron, here's what it's all about. Instead of you're racing against Team Orange and your Team Blue, which is basically what they did, but I won't say anymore.
Fair enough. So, like I said, bringing all of this to a close, you had fun, and of course, I'm happy to have you back, especially at work, because now we can totally not talk about Harry Potter while we're at work, because that would be ridiculous. But, anyways, thank you for coming on here and sharing all of this with us. We will definitely have you back on here at some point to talk about something else. I don't know what yet. But in the meantime, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. And just remember, everyone, the Force is family. See you guys later.
Bye.